Hello, Yu-Gi-Oh players, and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0. So today I'm playing Chain Beat. Yahoo! I've been missing this deck for a long time. I'm not sure why I've been so dumb as to not have been playing it. It's so good. So good. You'll see me freaking out over how much I love this deck in a second. In all reality, it may have been a good idea for me to activate that Tenki right there and go for my Wind-Up Rabbit first. Since the thing about Thunderbird is in order to use its effect, you have to have another effect to chain to, which if your opponent just summons like a Thunder King Ryo or something, that doesn't really work. But I did have that Forbidden Lands, of course, in case my opponent just normal summon a monster to try and run over my Thunderbird. I also like to hold on to my Tenki if I open with a chainable monster, so that I can decide if I want to get a Wind-Up Rabbit or if I want to get a bear later on in the duel. So he summons a gadget, and I realize that I'm playing against gadgets. What do you know? That was the single most obvious statement that you're going to hear in this video, besides I love Chain Beat, which is obvious to anybody who's been on my channel for more than a year. Any of you guys who haven't seen my Chain Beat videos, absolutely go check those out. I think there are like 9 of them, starting with my first video, which was the introduction to the weirdest deck in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! So he sets 3 back row, which I am absolutely not afraid of. There's only really 1 or 2 trap cards that this deck is afraid of. The first one is Imperial Iron Wall, the second one is Skill Drain, and I suppose you've also got Warning, which kind of hurts your monsters. But against a lot of decks, especially going into the next format, what's it called? I'm trying to think of the card. Imperial Iron Wall, that's what it's called, isn't going to be a very good meta call for them because a lot of the decks like Bujins and Spellbooks are going to like being able to banish their monsters. So I decided to go for the Wind-Up Rabbit with the Tenki because Bear isn't especially useful against gadgets. It does allow me to get rid of some of their bigger monsters, but as you can see, I've got a lot of defensive cards I can keep him from putting any big things on the board with. So he hits the Mirror Force button, which normally isn't a good idea against this deck, but he's got a gadget on the board, so he's going to want to keep it there. And it isn't as much of a minus in a gadget deck to activate Mirror Force because your gadgets replace themselves in the hand when you summon them, so they're pluses in and of themselves. So the wasted Mirror Force isn't that big a deal for him. So he hits the MST button, taking out my D-Fissure, which I'm absolutely okay with. I can't actually think of anything that this player is going to use that D-Fissure would really mess with. I just put it there for MST bait, which it actually turned out to be very good at. Sorry, I'm sleepy today, apparently. Man, I love Chain Beat. Just going to say that over and over and over again this video. I may bring you guys a deck profile. There isn't a whole lot to talk about with Chain Beat this format. Aside from there are a couple of meta calls that you're going to need to make. For instance, it may be smarter to run Kaiku over Fossil Dyna in the main deck. Because Kaiku is more of an out for things like Bujins and Spellbooks than what's its face? Then Fossil Dyna is. You might want to start including Soul Drain and siding Mind Drain, because one of the faults of this deck trying to take down Bujins is if they put a Bujin on the board, and if they can keep a Bujin on the board, they're going to run down your monsters, or they're just going to keep attacking you directly, at which point you're going to lose the game. So that is a major problem for you, but once again, you can run those Soul Drains, and you can try out Mind Drain, which I think is actually a pretty decent idea against Bujins, especially for a deck like Chain Beat that can take them down so easily with their back row. So I run over, actually no, I don't have anything to run over. I attack him directly with my monsters. He summons the red gadget, decides to go ahead and special summon that Kagetokuge, which he didn't reveal in hand like you're supposed to, so I didn't get to chain the Vanity's Emptiness, which, by the way, is a freaking amazing card in this deck. I mean, even though he did get to special summon that Kagetokuge, now he's just got 2 dead level 4s on the board. This Vanity's Emptiness it's just so boss in this deck, because the only real out for it is a well-placed MST. because you just can't make my monsters go to the graveyard. Um, so he hits another Mirror Force button, which I then, of course, chain my monsters to, as this deck does. Um, and one of the great things about the about Wind Up Rabbit and Evil Swarm Thunderbird is they don't start a chain, which means they have. I mean, they don't start a chain once they're banished, so they don't have any issues with Soul Drain. When they hit the board, they can't be torrentialed because it isn't a special summon, which means you also can't warning them once they hit the board, which means once you put a monster on the board, it's not going away. Which is something I really like about this deck, and it means that Vanity's Emptiness is very difficult for your opponent to get rid of. So he decides to make the smart play and shifts his monster to defense mode, and my victory is basically complete at this point because I draw into Black Garden. Like, the only other thing that could complete my defensive card array right here is like a macro, so then even MST couldn't get rid of. An MST of my face down couldn't get rid of my Vanity's Emptiness. Man, Black Garden is so good. Since your monsters don't special summon, Black Garden doesn't trigger when you activate a Thunderbird or Rabbit's effect. So my opponent decides to quit at that point because, I mean, who wouldn't quit when I have Black Garden, Vanity's Emptiness, a Thunderbird, a Rabbit, and 3 other back row face down. So that's the duel. I hope you guys like it. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below. And, of course, discuss how much we all love Chain Beat, of course, except for this gadget player. Thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got it. Oh.